Yeah, you have 20,000. But when you go out there, when you look at what you pay 20,000 naira for now, and what you will pay 12,000 naira for a year ago, that's how they robbed you. Your money, your effort, your hard work, they've been cut down from the source. That is what you call policy. When you have to use your money to buy expensive petrol, and some of it now, we now know that they are all adulterated. That will ruin that your vehicle eventually. But before it ruins it, you buy that, you buy expensive petrol or diesel to fuel, to power your, to power your business, to power your home. All of this extra, then you also ended up to pay 300% increase in electricity tariff. You do not really have the electricity. They came out to boldly tell you that you have band A, band B, band C, band D, band E, band F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q. So imagine if your own band is band Z, you only be getting electricity once in every 10 years. They boldly told you that. That means they had no plan of actually giving you, when the constitution says they have to give you 24 hours electricity, they have to give you, quality healthcare. They have to give you, your children, quality education, right? They've denied you all of this. They violated the agreement that gives them the power, the sovereignty to rule over you. They've denied you all of that. They do not have any power over you anymore. But you are still struggling within that. And somebody is going to collect 2,000, 5,000 to say you can endure. So it's up to you. In Niger State today, they don't seem to be waiting for August 1st anymore. So they block the road in and out of Niger State. One of them is the road that leads to Abuja. So it's officially kicked off.
mai ya ƙara kuɗi ba a yi magana akan ƙara kuɗin mai ba an ce kan yi zanga-zanga jiya wasu sun fito sun yi zanga-zanga ba wanda ya musu magana sai mu mun fito yau an ce ba za mu yi ba amma za mu haƙura mu muna bin doka ba faɗa muka zo yi ba mun zo zanga-zanga na lumana saboda haka an ce mu bari sheran alamis gaban da ya same mu ya ce sheran alamis mu za mu haƙura ran alamis za mu zo wani abin da ya kamata mu
And same thing in Kano. And their worst fear is that if they lose the control over the northern populace, they will lose control over Nigeria totally. So in their panic states, they've invited the military into the game. The military that blocked a road to Abuja today in order to possibly say in order to control those who are coming to Abuja to protest, but they are in now. And it is about to get messy. But why now? No. So here is the mistake they are making. Like I said, even if you don't like Tinubu, which by the right of evidence, it is your right not to like him. Like, it's okay. If you have a chance of getting rid of him from that place, there are so many people that will take it. But that is something they are trying to push on you, making you feel like, oh, maybe if you have the chance, won't you invade Aso Rock? Do you not know that if you have the chance, you will not go into that Aso Rock, you're not going to all those government houses in your states and drag out all these guys? Do you think we don't know that? Yeah, there are people that feels like that, no doubt. But at the same time, they are not stupid people. Just know that. Because there are some things that's going to actually trigger something that will trigger something. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. Listen, if you are watching me and you are one of the politicians in Nigeria, okay, maybe I can speak to you directly. Something that I know you have no power to do anything, but you will remember what I say now, okay? And that is, there is nobody as of yet that has the power to destroy Tinubu's government than Tinubu himself. Come to think of it, there are some of you who believe that he did so greatly well in Lagos, right? That even though you live in that same Lagos, sometimes you join them to say, yes, he will do this to Nigeria and all of that. Now, let's assume that you probably have imagined it for a long time that, how is it going to be like if these fraudsters, because that's who I see them as, okay? If these chancers, opportunists, especially from the Southwest, who paraded themselves like they have anything in common with Awolowo, remember? But rather, they were grooming and breeding a collection of degenerates, agberos. In fact, where education that used to be something of pride in Yoruba land has now probably become something of like almost a shame. However, there are those of you who have that in your mind that maybe they can do what Awolowo wanted to do, even though you are so deluded. And then you are so wrapped in their tribal politics, which a lot of you love to deny. I am not, see, this time I'm not kind of like trying to push you back. Now I'm just saying, you had your expectations, right? So, right now, are you not disappointed? Like, for real, like, you don't have to say it to me. Just like, are you not disappointed in the caliber of people that Tinubu appointed into his regime? Like all their records that you have been hearing. The Minister of Budget is the former governor of Kebbi State. a former bagman for Abacha, a money launderer. Tinubu's confidant is a wanted man called Jibat Shaguri that owns almost half of Lagos on behalf of Tinubu. These are the advisors, right? Bayo Obekunde Onofunuga, an indicted news agency of Nigeria, director, a thief. Abina Patawale, the former governor of Zamfara, the one that spent over 1.4 billion naira of Zamfara state money on rehabilitating terrorists, buying them trucks, giving them money, all because he was using them to continue to extract gold, called Zamfara gold. Who else is in that place that I need to mention? Like Better Edu, Omo Beta, that spent just about 6 months as Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, and boom, over 7 billion naira disappeared. In which the one in charge of internal affairs, what do you call that one? The one in charge of your passports, the one that is spending so much fortune on social media, just for social media validation, PR. What's that his name again? The one that got over 600 million naira from Better Edu, in the name of consulting and putting together a register of the poor people in Nigeria that Tinubu wanted to pay. The one that Shadia, you remember Shadia Farouk, the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs under Boko Haram, of course. The one that stole over 4 trillion naira. The woman that shared over 4 trillion naira without any trace of a bank account. Yeah. The one that succeeded her spent 6 months and 7 billion disappeared. If she hasn't been on suspension, only God knows. As we speak, look around you. Or Uju Kennedy, the pancake madam, money queen, the one that spent 1.5 or 1.8 million naira fueling a car from Abuja to Anambra. Who else do you have inside that place? Abina Kadobi, Oduduwa Emefiole, the one that wrecked 2 banks and is your central bank governor. Who else do you have in there? He appointed crooks, criminals like himself, ass lickers, like himself, praise singers, who praise him and, kind of make him feel good. And these are the people who are advising him. And, or is it Bajabia Mole? Bajabia Moron? A former Alabama, Georgia, where Bajabia Mole stole his own clients, betrayed his own client trust, and stole $25,000, ran away to Nigeria, and then plead the fifth. And said, I will settle the money. He ended up as what? These are the people advising him. Or the Majamajari Badu. Majamajari Badu, that was once that said the most corrupt governor he ever investigated, the most corrupt politician he ever investigated was Pablo Escobar, the Jagabanditi, Tinubu. And now he is his national security advisor. Like, what were you expecting? This is, the advice of these people have been what Tinubu has been following, Abi. So if their advices push Tinubu and whatever the brain you said he has, right? Yeah, if that pushed him to this stage, who do you think is the problem? Now, the same guys are doubling down. They have money to pay people to say no to protest. They are now inviting military. They are bringing military into the country. They are bringing military into the city. Special, and things turn around. And the military take over. Who do you think they will now blame? Faceless protesters. That's not true. In Lagos. together. Thank you, Jerry. See, you get the drift, right? I am like, who are those advising him? Look at them. They are advising him. They are threatening. Now, these same guys, they are now threatening Nigerians. They are threatening Nigerians. They are accusing Nigerians of want to remove Tinubu. Hey, they want to overthrow. They want to cause anarchy. They want to People appointed by Tinubu, they don't give a damn about whatever you're going through. Whatever they interpreted it, interpret it as is what they will flow with. They are advising him. Now they are leading him to the cliff. But they are still blaming you. They are. Watch this, by the way. Between Sheung and somebody who is also like, what is wrong with these people?
The rights activist. He's the lead protest here in the country. Something. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You've heard the legal conversation around it, and the police is not denied the fact that Nigerian citizens have the right to assemble, to protest, and to show their grievance against government actions or inactions. But in this case, it does look like the government has established its fear, and perhaps the NSAS report, God forbid, what happened in the aftermath of NSAS, for example, in Lagos, happened again. The destruction and the wanton destruction of lives, of property. Never should that kind of thing happen in the name of a protest. But you understand the fear of government. Under the law, what are the possibilities of guaranteeing that, yes, there will be peaceful protests, but how do we make sure that there is no hijack?
Well, thank you very much, Sheung. I think it is worth noting that non-violent protest is a shared responsibility between the state and the protesters. And what I mean is the state has a constitutional responsibility to guarantee safety as well as the security of citizens, because Section 14 of the Constitution is very clear as to the role and the function of the state. Citizens, on the other hand, also have a duty to support the government to ensure that there is political stability and there is no violence. Now, you have a situation where citizens and young people, in furtherance of a right vested on them by the provisions of the Constitution, and in particular Section 40, that deals with the freedom of peaceful assembly, are enforcing their right because the same Constitution also vests citizens with a responsibility to hold their government to account. And so they have decided to use or instrumentalize protest, which is a tool guaranteed by the Constitution for engaging government. And so whether the protest will end in violence or not is a role that both the police, the security agencies, and the protesters have to bear. Now, historically, the people who actually hijack protests and ensure that protests end in violence are not the protesters. And so we need to cut the organizers of this protest some slack, because they have expressed their commitment to ensuring that they exercise this right for protest under and based on the dictates of the law. Now, the state, on the other hand, also now has a responsibility to protect the protesters and ensure that mischief makers, thugs, do not hijack the protest. And that is where I think that we need to reiterate the point that if the protest, is peaceful, it is peaceful because security agencies and the protester decide to work together. And I'm using this opportunity to call on the security agencies, to protect the protesters because they are exercising their constitutional right.
Let me jump in quickly. Yeah. You referenced Section 40 of the Constitution, which guarantee freedom of association and peaceful assembly. But there are those who will argue that there isn't any place in the Constitution where protests and demonstrations have been mentioned. And the police have said, if you are going to do this protest, you have to assemble in a place for easy organization. What do you make of that provision and that argument that the police have said no bonfires, no streets, no marching on the street, just assemble for easy organization? Do you agree with that line that the police is towing?
Well, quite frankly, we must recognize, yes, the police has a responsibility and just drawing from experiences in the past. But I don't think that it behoves on the police to dictate to the protesters the mode and the approach that they use, to ventilate their grievance, because the Constitution is very clear. I think that the protesters and those who are organizing this protest also have a responsibility to ensure that they don't use any tool that undermines public safety, because this responsibility is shared and this right is not absolute. And so it's important. And all through the preparation for this protest, I have not heard where the protesters have said they are going to use either arms or they're going to use tools that threaten public peace or public safety. But they also need to be reminded that they must do so. They must exercise that right within the provisions of the law. Now, the Constitution, does not place any responsibility on the protesters, to request for any permit. And this matter is settled by our courts. If you recall, in 2007, when the ANPP, the former or the defunct, ANPP, led a protest to protest the government policies of the federal government, and then the police disrupted the protest, and their argument in court was that you required a permit, to conduct protest. And the court ruled in favor of ANPP that you do not require any permit, to do what? To conduct or undertake any protest, because the law is very clear, because as peaceful assembly, and it's very clear, peaceful, assembly. So I think that the protesters, need to defend their rights, by restricting themselves to the provisions of the Constitution and not employ violence as a tool, because across the world, violence is not a tool. And I really want to cut the protesters some slack, because they've not said that they are going to do what? To instrumentalize violence, or they are going to burn down government institutions or public or national asset. They've not said so, and I want to give them the benefit of doubt. However, what the police needs to do, and based on the rhetoric coming from different stakeholders, is to protect this protest.
Something quickly, I like to get this. Sowore, who is a presidential candidate of a political party in the 2023 elections, is one of those who will be leading this protest. There are those who will say this is now politically motivated. Now, for a government who spent about just a year in office, does he have the right to then go to the street and protest when those who gave the president a mandate are waiting patiently for him to deliver? There are those who argue in that right, and there are those who will say this is purely, totally backed. And then, the DSS have said they've identified those who are financing and funding this. What do you make of that, if this is toned and tagged as a politically motivated protest? The legality of that, is it questioned, though?
Protest is political. The big question is whether it is partisan. Because this is citizens' action. This is a citizens' action. It's actually a political engagement where citizens are engaging the state and they are ventilating their views. So there's nothing wrong if this is political. The big question is whether this is actually partisan. And Sowore isn't, to the best of my knowledge, he's not the only one leading this protest. There are other citizens who are part of